Good morning. So today I'm on my way to Hornopiren to catch the ferry, two ferries actually. Tomorrow morning I'll be catching them because this ride will take me some time because it's mostly dirt after I turn off in about 10 minutes. You can see that beautiful volcano there to the left. It was smoking the other day. It's not smoking today. I don't, or whether maybe I just saw clouds, I'm not sure. But Puerto Montt, yeah, average city. I stayed about 40 minutes outside of it in a lovely little cabana at a lovely place. Unfortunately the Wi-Fi was crap, but that's pretty much, I mean, at night, I mean, Encel, who does all this, I mean, these people pay these companies money for internet, and you can tell. So at night, like at 1 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the morning, the internet is good. But during the day, it's crap. That's because people are using it and they don't have the capacity, and it's just crap. I don't know why people pay, and when they pay, I don't know why. They just basically just don't all team together and just complain and take action against them, because it's just pathetic, really. But anyway, the cabins were wonderful. The people that owned it were absolutely fantastic. You know, like unbelievable. Some people who just really care about what they do, and the people that come and stay at their place. It wasn't cheap. It was, you know, around 100, but nothing's really cheap here in Chile if you want something half decent. About $130, $110, $120 a night. But it's worth it if you get your own cabin, kitchen, TV. If the internet was good there, it'd be the most perfect place I've stayed in. Just because of the way the people were there, they were fantastic. Just always have, you know, would you like a cup of coffee? You know, they not overly, you know, imposing themselves on you, but they were great. The wife of the husband was sensational. A really lovely lady, and the daughter was really nice too. It just makes it a better stay, you know, when you've got people that care about what you're doing and where you're going and helping you find good places to eat and, you know, things to look out for on the roads, and yeah, so it was fantastic, you know. They had jet skis there and kayaks and that you could just take, and they were right on the water. Their place was fantastic, a beautiful place. So about 10 minutes ago, I was looking around for a place to stop and get a photo of the mountain. And I checked my rear vision mirror, and then about 100, 200 yards further down the road, I saw a spot. So I just put my indicator on and I heard it screech behind me. This car must have been doing 120, 140 in a 60 zone. Like we just passed through a town, and I just heard him just slam the brakes on. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? You know, you've got a massive open road, there's no cars on it, and you're screaming around the corner and sitting up the arse of a guy on a motorbike. Oh, unbelievable. The guy just looked at me and was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking, you friggin' idiot, you know? Yeah, I mean, when I looked in the rearview mirror, all I could see was car. As soon as I put the indicator on to turn in, and I think he was overtaking me. I think he was just flying and just went to overtake me, and then just put the brakes on, you know. But you know, it's just, some people are just idiots. You just got to put up with it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this ride today. It's going to be pretty tough. Apparently, the Rio, the off-road stuff is pretty thick. And there's one thing I can't stand. Off-road is when it's just really thick, coarse gravel. Because the bike just moves around everywhere and it just makes you a little bit nervous. You've got to keep going, and the bike sort of corrects itself, but you just don't know when it's that sort of thick Rio, how thick and how loose it is. So you try to stick in the grooves, and I've had a couple of days of that now where you're basically doing 30 to 40 k's an hour through the real thick stuff, and you can get up to 60, 70, 80 when it's good. Like in Bolivia, the off-roading was hard and flat, and had some, whenever you got into towns it was always a bit muddy and you had to take it really careful. But that compared to just crust, it's not even crust rock, it's just really thick rock. And yeah, I wouldn't want to be riding a push bike on it, and we'll probably see some, but I don't know what this one's like, but he seems to tell me it's pretty it's a bit all over the place. So, and he said that there's parts of the road that are tarmac, and you think, oh cool, and then all of a sudden it just stops, and then it's just gravel again. So it's going to be an interesting day, but I'm just going to take my time. I've given myself, I left it like at sunlight, which was 7 a.m. I'm an hour and a half into the trip now. I've had about a 10-15 minute break, and I'm just going to, you know, ride for 45 to an hour. Your arms get tired, and you know, you're working the wheel, and you know, you're working the steering a fair bit, and you know, you got to be careful with these buses too, because you don't know what they're doing, whether they're just local or they're turning or what they're doing. They're picking up people. So this is the first stage of my journey, and look at that volcano, isn't that beautiful? There's a few of them. There's one just behind me over here as well. I don't know if you can see that. That one, we can tell how active they've been, whether they've been active, whether there's any trees from where the lava flows come. And there's a couple of these that obviously have erupted in the last few decades. This guy's wanting to let me through. Thank you, mate. I'll take it as soon as I'm ready. There we go. So yeah, Puerto Montt, it's a bit of a clusterfuck of a town, to be honest. It's not, I mean, it's everything that you think about when you look at the maps. You think, oh, that'll be a beautiful little seaside town. It's pretty industrial sort of place, pretty crummy sort of place. I had to go in there yesterday and get the tickets, and that was an adventure. I mean, the name of the building where the ticket is isn't the name of the company that's in the building. It's an old company, and they just haven't got replacing it. There was a lot of people there, and you know, I got a ticket number 55, and it was only up F55, and it was up to 15. This guy wants to come out at me. I've been bitten a few times on this trip, and not that keen on it. So you either accelerate the hell out of it. It's a lot more difficult when you undo it, or just come to a complete stop. And most of the time, or all the time so far, the dogs that look menacing just stop. I wonder, what are you doing?
Hi guys, I thought I'd just stop right there. I just started rambling on about dogs for about 10 minutes. So as you can see, I'm well on my way to Hornopiren. It's a really difficult place because you can't actually find it on the map. It doesn't. If you type in Hornopiren, it goes to like a region, a national park. But anyway, I've put a link on the map where it is, on the full post where it is anyway. But yeah, no, this was just a fantastic day's riding. Just took my time. I had all day to get there, only about 4 or 5 hours of riding. I decided to take a long route, and if you have a look at my full blog post, you'll see the long route. And this is just me. What I do is basically just, I'm always sweating under my helmet, even though it's quite cool. What I do here is I get the GoPro off. I've got it on a stand. It's already sitting at the back of my bike. So I just take it off, press the button to play, and then I just go about my stuff. But this is the sort of places you stop, you know, really pretty sort of places along the way. Where you can have a nice break. Sometimes you got a little bench. Some bus stops are really beautiful where you got a bench you can lay down on. But I hadn't been riding that long anyway. Just decided to take a break where there's a really pretty thing. And that was a problem with this trip here. It took me a lot longer because I wanted to stop all the time. There's just so much beautiful scenery to take in. And it was pretty, it was a pretty calm day. There wasn't much traffic at all. And once I turned off this road, there was pretty much no traffic. And it was just a beautiful ride, you know. Saw a car once in every while, and then once I turned off and got onto the dirt, I maybe saw 2 or 3 cars the whole journey. which surprised me because, you know, Hornopiren is where everybody gets the ferry. So you get one ferry, which is a normal ferry, which loads all the cars and trucks, and you've got, you know, an area where you can sit down up the top. And I met some other adventure riders as well, really beautiful people from Germany, and a couple. I'm starting to forget. I've actually forgotten their story, but they were really, really nice people. And they were going two up. Basically, they weren't going all the way. They were going just a short distance and then heading back. But yeah, didn't see that much traffic at all. And once I turned off and got onto the dirt, there was just nothing except for magnificent views the whole way. Big mountains, and yeah, it was spectacular. Got the sun's coming right at you, and that's. With this camera, the drift is it just doesn't handle light, direct light very well. There's a new version out now, and I probably will get that. But you know, the cameras, the equipment I've got now are fine until my next long trip, and then I might upgrade. And I won't be getting a GoPro. I'll get another one of these for sure. I just hope the audio works a lot better, because the problem with shooting video is unless you get the audio right, and the Drift Ghost has got an audio out. Look at that, it's fantastic. Drift Ghost has got an audio out, but the microphone just doesn't work all the time. It's really, really frustrating. And you know, you learn so much from doing a trip like this, where you basically, it's me another little setup shot. So I just got the GoPro on here, and it's taking a photo every 5 seconds or so, and every 10 seconds. So set it up, walk across, stand still for a few seconds, and then just go about my business. And shouldn't really be stopping on bridges, but there was hardly any traffic. So it is quite cool here. But yeah, but with the camera equipment, the lesson I've learned is, instead of doing so much editing like I'm having to do now, my next trip I'm going to have a selfie camera type thing for doing doing a little bit of talking on the bike, and then stopping and just talking a little bit about the adventure that day. And it will make it so much easier in post to be able to just turn around and just edit where, you know, just put them all together in a sequence. Because, you know, I've spent, you know, to do each video probably takes me 3 to 4 hours, as well as the blog post, because I'm just not doing just the video. If I just did the video, it would take me probably about an hour and a half to do each one. But I like to write a blog post about the day. I wrote notes on every single day that I travelled, and just put them in. I put them in a little note-taking thing called Google Keep. And with the Drift Ghost, another good thing, it's got the GPS, so it actually tells you where each photo is. The GoPro doesn't, which is annoying. And obviously your phone camera. A little trick that if you're going to be using the GoPro, a little trick is to also take, to someone running in the middle of nowhere, a good trick is to always take a photo on your phone if you've got the location activated for your photos, because then you can see exactly where you are. So shoot the normal stuff, and then take a photo with your phone, any type of photo, and then at least you've got a record of where it is. Another thing that's really important with photography is to make sure all of your cameras are set to exactly the same time, because then you'll get them in a sequence when you import them into your editing software. So it makes it easier. A problem with the GoPro is you take the battery out, sometimes it resets the date. It always sets it to 1st of the 1st, 2015, which is so freaking annoying, because a lot of the time you just forget to, once you've changed the batteries and all this sort of stuff, for some reason it just does it every now and then. I'm sure it's something to do with what I'm doing, maybe taking the power off all of a sudden without, I don't know. I've got no idea why it does it, but it's super annoying. Just about everything about the GoPro is so. The camera is fantastic. No one's going to argue with that. But everyone else is pretty much caught up now. Drift is a small company, and they've got terrible customer service. You know, they wouldn't even send me that with the microphones. I needed extra ones because they seem to last for about a month, and then they just get all crackly and just. And I messaged them on Instagram, and the girl was really helpful, and then got in touch with their support. Can you send some to to a major capital city? And gave them an address in there, and they said, "Oh no, we don't do that." So basically, we can't do it basically, which they could. So basically, what I had to do is I order it from Amazon to a friend in Miami, and then once they arrived there, I got them to send it to whatever destination I needed. Really, I mean, for a small company, customer service, that's what's got to be the big winner for them. And they will struggle forever and ever. And the other reason is that they will struggle is they should only be targeting adventure sports, and that's what their whole target should be, just making it better for adventure sports like motorbike riding, ATVs, snowboarding and stuff, etc. And then just making the process from taking it from a camera to actually editing it and putting it into a video, make that process a lot better, because GoPro really sucks at that too. So. And GoPro's problem has always been that they want to be everything to everybody. But anyway, so this trip, let's get back to the trip. So this trip was, I had to go to Ensenada basically and then do a turn off. Now you can go the other way, which is the easy way, which a lot of it's paved. But, again, I was told, by some friends in Osorno that you've got to take this road. They said it's a little bit tougher, but it wasn't. I mean, I had good weather. I would imagine if the weather was bad, the roads might have been a bit tougher. They fell away in a few places, and there was some landslides and some rock falls in a couple of places, but most of it was pretty easy riding. Nice, pretty decently packed. Only a few places where the government tried to come in and fix the road by just throwing a huge amount of rock on it, which just makes it pretty tough to ride. But for the most part, it was pretty easy riding. So I think from this point onwards, I'd pretty much get off the road. But it was a really beautiful road. And Chile has some amazing paved roads, just beautiful. And basically, I had the thing is, you never know where the road's going to end, and then in some places they'll have it'll be paved, and then all of a sudden the pave will just end for like 20 kilometres and 15 miles or whatever, and then it would be paved again, and then it'll be rock again, so you never really know. So going at a huge speed is not the best idea. The other thing too about all the dirt roads is, especially the ones that are carrying freight, is the corners on dirt. You can get anything from, and when you're getting into towns, little towns, it'll be a really good road, and then you get to the town and it's all churned up, and there's big tracks in the road where if you get stuck in or you try to get out of, you can drop your bike, and they can be really difficult because your bike just gets stuck in that lane, and if it's going into a bad direction, you can't really get out of it. It's not even worth it, especially with a big heavy bike. With a dirt bike, you could play around with it a lot more. But I basically just cruised the whole day. I probably stopped 20-30 times, which is ridiculous, but it was such a beautiful road, and I'm doing probably about 60 kilometres an hour, that's all. Just taking it in, there's just so much to see. It was probably one of my favourite days riding on the whole trip. And as soon as this is right in the forests and all that sort of stuff, and then you go out of that and you go into the dirt, and you're basically following the bay along the way, and lakes, and crossing lots of rivers, and they were pretty, they were flowing pretty strong, all the rivers. But I actually, at one stage there, I got off the bike and I tried to put my foot in the water to see if it would be nice for a swim, and it was absolutely freezing. There was just no chance I was going to get in there, especially as it was fairly cool anyway. When it's hot and you get in the water, even if the water's colder, but the air conditions outside are nice and warm, you don't worry, because you know that you'll be dry within 15 minutes after you're on the bike anyway. So yeah, so I hadn't booked any place, so I had to find a place once I got there. And once I got to Hornopiren, I was basically going to, the ferry left at 11 a.m. the next day, and I had basically about an hour and a half's ride to get to the ferry, a couple of hours ride maybe to get to the ferry, that was all. So I was pretty relaxed about the whole thing. I've already got my tickets, so I didn't really have any any worries going into the next day. All I had to do was find accommodation. I was going to get there around about midday anyway, so I had plenty of time to get where I wanted to get to. So I was pretty relaxed about the whole day's riding. So. Pretty sure the road ends just up here, and then it's just pretty much dirt from there until you get close to Hornopiren, and then there's a paved road again. Yeah, so the ferry was pretty simple. Is basically I was the first one on the ferry. They basically let the motorbike jump to the front. Now this was basically the start of the off-roading after the end of this bridge, I'm pretty sure from memory. Yeah, so it was just dirt from here, which was pretty relaxed, but amazing views. There's a lot of fish farming and all that sort of stuff going on down there, which I'm not a bigger fan of, but I'm sure they package the fresh fish as wild Patagonian, whatever, but there's a lot of fish farming going on. But yeah, this was just such a great ride. A few cars along the way, that's about all. But just following little farmlands and little huts along the way, and some broken down cars and stuff like that. But I expected a little bit more traffic. I honestly thought there'd be a few more cars around, but there was a little bit around the towns, little tiny villages. There's some traffic there, but that's pretty much it. I hardly saw anybody. Oh, wow, it was just everything was. I could have stopped 150 times and taken photos. But yeah, obviously I did want to get there at a reasonable time. And another little trick is if you're going to be staying in a city or anything like that, if your next ride is to a certain point, try to find a place on the other side of the city, so that in the morning you're not riding through all the traffic, the peak hour traffic and stuff like that. You're basically getting on your way straight away, and you've got a good clean run for the rest of the trip. Geez, I love it. This ride today was so good. Again, I had some pretty fresh tyres on. I changed my tyres, got some new tyres on in Santiago, so I'd only had about 5-6 days of riding on this fresh set of tyres, and that is, I think it's critical. One of the guys who rode with me in Santiago he bought some new tyres, but decided to hold off putting them on his bike, and then the next day he got a puncture. His tyres were already pretty worn, and he asked me the morning he's left, should I put them on now? Should I get them on the night before we left, or should I? I said, I would, even though he had enough tread for maybe another 1,000 miles on his current tyres. Just not worth it. It's just not worth risking it. And this is the one area from here onwards. This is the one place where you're going to you're not going to be able to get. You're going to be left for days if your tyre goes. You get a serious puncture that you can't fix on the way. The little toolkits that do the small punctures, they work really well, but they're short-term fixes. They're not a long-term fix. So you can get that slime stuff that you put inside, and there's different types. There's one for the tube tyres and one for tubeless. I'm on tubeless tyres. but you know, it's a solution from getting from one place to another and then getting new tyres. You know? It's not a long-term solution. This is basically getting towards the end of my trip, because then, you know, once I'm in Patagonia, I've got, you know, I'm staying at places for a few days at a time. It's a pretty expensive area to stay. You'll find that campgrounds are $20, $25 a night, and accommodation's probably double the price everywhere else, just because there's not a lot of accommodation around. The smart move is to look for cabanas in each town. A lot of the time you can't book them online because they're not actually online. A lot of people just offer up a room in their house or a little cabana off their house for rent. So you're still looking at $40, $50 a night for a basic cabana. Some of them have Wi-Fi. A lot of them say they have Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi doesn't work. So you just got to plan your trip a little bit. If you're just winging it, the campgrounds are going to be fine for you. A lot of really cool campgrounds, and you can even stealth camp as well. There's plenty of places where you can just set up a tent and you wouldn't have a problem, you know. A lot of people do that too. You know, they just by the river, they'll just find a spot by the river and just camp. In some cases, it's frowned upon, but you know, I think most people just do it anyway. And if they get told to move on, they just move on. But for the most part, you can pretty much do it anywhere. No one's gonna, as long as you clean up afterwards and you do the right thing, you're not gonna have any issues with it. It's beautiful. I could ride this type of road every single day of my life. If you're going to go faster, you're probably best off to get up on your pegs. I was just taking time. I'm always looking for a spot to stop along here. It's beautiful. One of the few cars that I saw along the way. It's the one thing with the videos. It's the one thing that I'm going to have to plan a lot better on my next trip, so that it becomes a lot more like vlogging, or whatever you want to call it. Only because you want to make the people experience it a little bit more. Like, this is okay, but I think people would rather hear from you on the road and about all the different things you experience during the day. It obviously would make it a lot better, not only for you, but not only for myself, but also for the audience. And that's a lesson I learned from this trip. The problem is, you know, you've got to have two things going for you. If you're going to do video editing, you've got to have a pretty powerful laptop, because you don't want to be sitting there just waiting for things to render all the time. So it's always better to get a pretty powerful laptop. The MacBook Pros are probably going to be fine, even though they've dropped off so much in the last few versions, and they hardly ever upgrade them. I had a MacBook Air which ended up flickering after the first month or two, and I ended up having to buy a Windows computer to do my editing. And in the end, didn't bother with the editing, because you know, I had work to do. It was taking so long. That will be a new lesson. Get a really good laptop for the trip, and then just get into a routine of editing. So a day's edit, if you film it correctly, a day's edit should really take you only a few hours each day. But it's something you've got to want to do. And in hindsight, I would try to do that. And basically, what you do is you save each file every time, until you get something where you can upload. And that's going to be another problem you're going to have, is your uploads are going to be very limited until you actually get a place that's got decent Wi-Fi where you can actually upload a video. But yeah, I'll get into, next time I'll get into a better process, and I'll actually start the process before I leave. So I'll spend 4 or 5 days doing, maybe a week doing it every day before I leave on my next trip. So I get into a routine. So probably start out all the planning videos, and then move into just so you're getting into a routine of how you're going to shoot and then edit each day. But I'll just make sure next trip that I have the proper setup for the helmet camera, and then get a video log, one for video logging, just like on a little tripod, where I can just do a little when I do have a stop, just do a couple of minutes of edit, so that then the whole story flows throughout the day. And the best vloggers are the ones that do it that way. You know, they're really good, and they make it interesting. You know, and just talking about your bike and any little bits of any fixes you've got to do along the way. I mean, everybody has to do them. You know, the things that are good on my bike is the tyre maintenance is pretty easy for me on my bike, changing a tyre or fixing a tyre. The coolant thing is a bit of an issue. I had a bit of an issue on this trip with my coolant, and getting that changed out is a pain in the ass. Bleeding the fuel is also an absolute pain in the ass. I mean, I'll probably, before my next trip, I'll probably do a course of taking apart my bike and putting it back together again, and just learning about everything a little bit more, so you can do more things on the road. But my bike basically runs on computers, so you don't really have that opportunity to fix too many things. But general maintenance, yeah. It's a shame that the KTM dealer here doesn't run little workshops, which they really should do, and I'm sure they'd be very popular, and you pay good money. So this is Hornopiren. This is where you get the ferry. I think the ferry is on the right hand side up here. It's leaving for this day, or it's just returned for the day actually, I think. And that will be the ferry that I take the next day. You can see there's some cabanas on the right there. They're everywhere. Most of them are booked out though. This is a pretty popular town. I had to go out of town to actually get a spot. I was actually just looking for where the ferry came out, and then you can see it on the right side there, just a little bit of it now. So it's a big ferry. It's not like a little tiny little thing. And it leaves once per day. I think during peak season it might leave a couple of times per day. But if you're a motorbike, when you go to queue up, you just go straight to the front of the queue, and they'll put you on the bike first. So you'll either end up at the front of the boat or the back of the boat. They'll just tell you where to park. I ended up they put me in first, but put me at the back of the boat. Which didn't worry me, because you had the first ferry trip, and then you had a break, and you had to go off-road for about 5-10 miles to get to the next ferry. And I got on the first one on the next ferry. But people, 4-wheel drives, everyone knew that you had to, if you want to get, there's going to be 2 ferries on the next trip. You have to wait if you don't get on the first one. And they just waved me to the front of my bike, but boy, everyone was just in a mad rush off-roading, and I wasn't keen to come off my bike. It was pretty thick rock. But yeah, I'll talk about that in the next it's going to be a little short video for the next one. That's where I stayed. Pretty run-down place, but there were really nice people, and there was another rider there, nice guy. He was going back the other way. Some people trying to kickstart their truck. Yeah, but it was a nice little spot. Just relaxed for the night, and then got on my way. So as always guys, questions and comments below, happy to answer any of those.